Hello and welcome to the video. This is a quick overview of a new radio from BetaFPV. Well, not new radio, it's the latest incarnation of their LiteRadio series. Some of you may have spotted that from, I think about December time, the LiteRadio 2, the predecessor of this, had some tweaks to it, and this is the latest version, the LiteRadio 3. Now this is about $60, so it isn't going to break the bank, but it's available, interestingly, in two protocol versions: Express LRS 2.4 gig or FrSky, also available in mode 2, which I have here, or mode 1. Now, there seems to be lots of these smaller radios coming out at the moment, and I still like the X-Lite, if you remember that, the FrSky one that was my first of this kind of form factor. Small, portable, compact, but did everything you needed it to do. They're great for beginners and those with limited budgets, but they remove a lot of the extras, things like trim buttons and screens and all kinds of things, to get down to a price point, and this just happens to be the latest one from BetaFPV. With these smaller radios, there are a couple of common questions that I always get asked, so we'll make sure we cover them in the video. Can it be used as a student radio? Can it be used with a SIM? What's the quality like? And can you change the settings easily? So let's get into the video and have a closer look at this new BetaFPV LiteRadio 3. So while I unbox this thing, let me talk about some of the specs. So 8 channels in total on this. 4 are dedicated to the main flight controls, standard ELRS style stuff on this. So AETR is the default order, but we can change that. We'll have a look in a minute, which is unusual for this kind of smaller radio. USB joystick support, so you can absolutely plug in. It's a USB-C style connector at the bottom, and you can plug it into your computer. I'll show you that in a minute. It's a nano module bay on the back for external transmitter module. It is a bit recessed, so make sure that the module doesn't stick out too far to the sides. You can switch between the internal protocol stuff. Again, you can have either Express LRS or FrSky versions, or you can go to the external module, so long as the external module is expecting to talk CSRF. Now, it says it's a newly designed gimbal for longer usage life. The gimbals don't feel anything particularly fantastic, but in the testing that I've done here, they seem to center quite nicely. No real adjustment as such. The big thing that I'm noticing as I've unpacked it is that the plastics have that soft feel. And although that makes it quite nice to hold, one thing I'm noticing is it almost feels a little bit slippy. I'd prefer more of a grip at the sides. On the top there are 2 3-position switches and 2 2-position switches, so that will be useful for your arming switch, your mode, return to home, maybe flip after crash. And this piece at the top, although it's movable, doesn't seem to be able to be removed on this model. At the bottom we have a bind button, a setup button, the USB connection, which is how you charge the onboard battery as well, and there's also an audio jack. Now the audio jack isn't for a trainer port, unfortunately, and the sticks are height adjustable out of the box. Now this, just like the later versions of the LiteRadio 2, also support the BetaFPV configurator, so we'll plug it into that and have a look in a minute. And again, I've got the Express LRS 2.4 gig protocol version here. That's what it says under the cover at the back for the bay. And this has a built-in 2000 mAh battery, chargeable via the USB port at the bottom, and that's significantly bigger than the previous version of the radio. So with the radio plugged into the computer, you download the configurator and you plug it in without powering the radio on. That means the USB port is active. You can click in here and there's some really cute stuff. I haven't been in the configurator before, but in here you can also change the settings of flight controllers, and you can go specifically into changing the radios. Now you don't need to worry about the fact the COM port doesn't appear, because you don't need it for just changing the settings. You just click on Connect RC at the top right hand corner, and here are all the different settings. So if I scroll down, move the sticks on the table, there you can see exactly how everything is moving. You can check the centering. There is also a routine on here that you can go through to calibrate the sticks if they start wandering. You can see that the switches are mapped very logically to the following 5 pieces. Again, auxiliary 1, channel 5 in ELRS tends to have to be arming pretty much solid. You can also change the order of the channels if you really wanted to. AETR is what most people are going to want to use. And then at the top, you also have the options here to look at all the settings, change the mode that you want. Also change some other things. Some of this stuff is grayed out because it isn't supported on the radio, but I really like the idea that you can come in here and you can change things that you can kind of do on the radio using the buttons at the bottom and, you know, following the manual. But I just love the fact there is this little interface. You can come in and kind of tweak it to how you want it to be. I think it's a really cute idea because, let's be honest, once you've got it set up how you want it, you'll probably never come in here again. But it's good that it's here in case you want to do firmware updates or maintain the radio or change something, a tweak that you're not happy with. In terms of working with the simulator, surprise, surprise, the simulator works exactly the way you'd expect. This is the little one, the simulator from Curry Kitten, but I just plugged it in and it works straight out the box. I'll put a link down below to my video that talks about how you can fix the driver problem, particularly in Windows 10 or 11, if it does something stupid with the human interface device driver. Can occasionally do that, but this time I just plugged it in and it worked perfectly. Had to remap some of the controls from the other radios that I've used in the past, but it's working absolutely fine. Again, if you're going to be using it as a joystick on the PC, then make sure that you don't turn the radio on first by pressing and holding the button in the middle. Just make sure that you plug the USB cable in, give Windows a second to load the driver, and you should be away. So compared with the LiteRadio 2 SE, this latest version, the LiteRadio 3, has a larger 2000 mAh battery, making the endurance about, they reckon, about 15 working hours without an external module. Obviously, if you use an external module, which has to be CRSF supported, so you could even use something like Crossfire module on the back of this if you really wanted to, that's obviously going to pull more power and drain the battery a lot faster. Now, I haven't had a lot of time on the LiteRadio 2, so I can't really compare the sticks on this to the previous one, but the sticks on this are absolutely fine. They're nothing to write home about, but they are functional and they seem to be centering well with the spring tension and the setup quite nice out the box. Now, the other thing to mention about this is the fact that there is a case that they have brought out for this radio as well. Now, this sounds like a really silly thing to mention, but actually I love these little radios. They are perfect for sticking in the bottom of a backpack with a small quad if you're going for a walk or something else. And if you go somewhere where you fancy a bit of a fly and it's safe and easy to do so, then you can just pull all the stuff out and have a zoom around. A lot of these cheaper radios these days are not coming with any kind of options for cases. I do like the fact that this one came with gimbal protectors. Not sure, you know, how high quality the gimbals are, how much you're protecting, but I love the fact it does come in a case because that allows you to keep all the pieces together, potentially put a couple of spare batteries in that case along with the radio for your quad if you go out to fly. I'll put links down below to the quad and the case if you're interested. I do like the fact that we have an awful lot of choice at the moment for these kind of radios. Lots of different versions around, perfect for little bind and fly quadcopters. I'm really interested in the fact that this again is offered in both an Express LRS and a FrSky version. Mode 1 or Mode 2 is really nice. I like the idea of a configurator to change the settings. I think that is really good. That means that if you do need to tweak something, you can do it. Although, of course, that doesn't allow you to do it on the fly. You've got to have a computer with the application running. It does mean that you can tweak things if you are not happy with how something is working. That's an option that isn't available on some of the other radios that are cheap and cheerful that aren't using what I would class as a full operating system like Open or HTX. To me, it feels like a funky, chunky game controller. It's an awful lot bigger than you expect it to be in the hands, so if you have really small hands, you're going to struggle to hold it. However, if you are a thumber, it's going to be comfortable, but it's also really nice for pinchers too. Number of things that I will bring to your attention on this. Again, this isn't an expensive radio, so you're not going to get Bentley and Rolls-Royce levels of quality. I would have liked more positive clicks from the switches. To me, they feel a little bit mushy. They're probably fine when you're flying, but to be honest, I kind of like to have a little bit more positive feedback that the switch has actually moved into position. Again, disappointing there isn't a trainer port on here. That would have been really nice rather than an audio out jack. I personally would have preferred to have some kind of trainer, so that this could also have been used as a student radio. Would have made a really nice optional use for it. Not a fan of the plastics. Now I know this is kind of a rubberized coating, which in the warmer weather might be nicer to hold. The fact it's a nice light colour as well will show the dirt, but means that it won't get hot when it's sat in the sunshine on a sunny day. But for me, it is a little bit slippier than I would have liked. I would have liked some more classic pads on the side just to help with grip. Also, doesn't hang level from the neck strap connector. Doesn't really bug me about that. With these smaller, lighter radios, to be honest, you're probably going to be able to hold it without it becoming a problem over time. But it's just one of those things that it's just those little niggly things that kind of bug you on these smaller, cheaper radios. The last thing I'll mention about this is that I would like BetaFPV to be closer to the ELRS or the Express LRS project and not fork the code. A lot of the things I've been bringing out recently have been ELRS related, which is great for pushing the boundaries of the project. But I would ask BetaFPV to put the effort in to have the ELRS stuff that they make certified, and also not to fork the code from the original project, because that just complicates matters. It means that you can't use the standard configurators to do updates. You kind of have to use the manufacturer's configurator, which, although will probably work fine, does muddy the water about what was supposed to be a vendor-independent version of a protocol. But if you're interested in this radio, that's my quick overview of what it is. In terms of a little radio, it actually works really well. And for the price, it's very nice. And I do like the fact that they've also thought about things like making a case for it too. Thank you for spending your time today watching that video. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you're trying to learn about a subject, then check out the playlist. All of my videos are organized into easy to follow playlists that, if you're trying to learn a topic, will take you from the basics right the way through to some pretty advanced stuff.